Welcome to the Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast with your hosts, Mike Randall and Gus Kearns.
Welcome in, listeners, to the Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast, where we're talking everything college hoops. You could have been anywhere else on the dial, but you chose to be here with us, Mike and Gus, and we appreciate that. And Mike, isn't there like some sort of sadness to the 60 minutes lead in after that game, and you know you have to wait the entire week to get to the Final Four? This Elite Eight was absolutely all we could hope for. The margin of victory was absolutely like skin tight. And man, all of these games could have went either way. And it was just hotly contested. We had a couple overtime contests. I don't know if we can ask anything more from an Elite Eight. This Elite Eight was one of the best I can remember as long as we've been watching.
The best Elite Eight I've ever seen in my life. Start to finish, overtimes. I am simply sitting here smoking a cigarette, and I don't smoke. So, unbelievable drama, storylines. And folks, if you are one of the casual college basketball fans that just tunes in, I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think this is the podcast for you. Gus and I are emotionally invested in all of these teams in an irrational way. We have strong, passionate, detailed opinions, and we're going to talk about these games as if our children were in them. So if that's not what you want, then you can go to any other podcasts and you can say, Duke, they didn't win. They got some good players. That's kind of surprising. Okay, or you can stay here as we give you crazily passionate, screaming, yelling, jubilant, frustrated analysis on these Elite Eight games.
And these games totally provided the opportunity for us to get like high volume shouting, to get really passionate, to deeply invest. There were so many twists and turns in this. Like, oh man, I can't say it. We just want to say a quick thank you to Spreaker for getting us in your earbuds so you can enjoy that passionate high volume screeching that we might get to in a few minutes. And also a thank you to Bell Jar for bringing us in and out with his intro music. Just fantastic. And Mike, let's just start with Texas Tech and Gonzaga. Like, I think I'll go first. You have a lot
of frustration on this game. You go ahead. Lead the way, partner.
All right. So Texas Tech wins 75-69 over our Zags, my Zags, and they put up 37 points in the first half, and Texas Tech followed right along, right? And they were down 2. So you look at the halftime score and you feel Texas Tech is playing a little faster than they want to play. If this game is going to reach 80, 78 where it almost got to, then Gonzaga is playing exactly how they want to play. And the offensive efficiency that we talked about a couple of times on the podcast was going the exact way that Gonzaga went. But then you look in the second half and Texas Tech puts up 40. They dropped 40. So it's not like they went away from this pace at all. They embraced it and then went right with it and then out Gonzaga in the second half. Here's the key. If you just take a look, we can look at box scores, we can look at points, we can look at field goal percentage, we can see Culver, obviously not as efficient as you want as your superstar. Here's what I took away. If you look at the 9 steals and the 7 blocks that Texas Tech used to disrupt this Gonzaga offense, that was the most efficient offense the entire season in our sport. That was the difference. They went ahead and ran. They went ahead and shot made. Mooney made a couple of shots. Culver got his act together in the second half. They put up that 40 spot in the second half. And then, we'll get into the Perkins knucklehead play and the out of bounds, touching in the out of bounds, and that turned into a technical. And that's one of the things that we talked about on the previous podcast where we said Perk just has to be average. He just has to do his job, and then they'll be fine. Keep the turnover number low, and that last final play when they were down 2 with a chance to foul or a chance to get a steal out on the out of bounds, that was like a double turnover. That like counted as 2. So many frustrations here on Miami because I felt like this game was headed the Zags' way, and I felt like, we were headed back to another Final Four. Mike, what were your initial takeaways? And then, I'll jump back in with a couple other things I thought and saw along the way.
The tosses and turns of a game, the back and forth, is exactly what you want from a great game. So, in the first half, I'm watching this game, and my reaction is freaking Hashimura is the most impossible matchup in college basketball. He's the size of a 4, okay? And I thought that if Texas Tech was going to win, they're not going to put Culver on him because he's going to get Culver in foul trouble, okay? So I thought it was either going to be Odiasi, to a certain extent inside, right, or Tariq Owens. And those two guys could not get into foul trouble. Sure enough, Odiasi gets 2 fouls in like 2 minutes. Okay? Now, I am here to tell you that Norentz Odiasi isn't exactly Shaquille O'Neal. Okay, so I understand that this, 5 points. Okay, I understand that. But in the Jenga puzzle that is Texas Tech, he's very important. He gets 2 fouls. Tariq Owens gets 2 fouls. And they drop 37. They dropped 37, Gus. Michigan had 44 the entire game. So I'm sitting here going, this is not good. But the second half, they locked down, and they somehow held Gonzaga to 25 points before that last minute, which I think we have to discuss right now. And when the block happened on Owens, when Owens blocked Hashimura's shot, I did say to myself, I think he stepped out of bounds. I did say that. However, I think in the triple beam balance of working itself out, Moretti dribbling the ball, when, by the way, Gus, Texas Tech had the arrow. Yeah. So even if he just gets a jump ball, the ball's at half court and they can inbound it. Correct. I think that evened it out because the block happens. I think they were down 4 at that point, something like that. So you want to say they get it back in. There's no guarantee they make the 3. And then to even it out, Moretti turns the ball, gives back to him, Perkins hits a 3. But at the end, as soon as he reached over, I did say I said to my wife, I said, that's a technical foul. And she says, why? I said, because that's the one thing you can't do. In fact, when I was coaching high school, from my the old coach, the Hall of Fame coach that I coached under, I got to learn from, that was something we practiced. At the end of every practice, we went through our specials, and he said, if you're taking the ball out of bounds and we're up, reach the ball over, see if they hit it. Not over, but reach it out. Step back, reach out. As soon as it happened, it was terrible. And it's a shame because he was 4-9 from 3-point range.
I have no problem with the aggressiveness. I have no problem with the urgency. I have no problem with the want to. All of those things are fine on my end. The execution was the part that you have to get that right. You have to make sure you have to give your teammates a chance to do their job behind you so they can maybe get the trap. Maybe they can get a quick turnover. Sure. Maybe they get a deflection. Sure. You have to have the trust there, and for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And that was the one Perkins play that you've been kind of harping on all season, where you're like, I don't know if I trust this guy in a big spot. And that was the biggest spot of big spots for them this season. And we can call it knuckleheadish. We can call it, selfish. We can call it misguided. Whatever you want to put, whatever label you want to put on it, that absolutely ruined any chance that they had to complete that last minute comeback, where they kind of came out with their hair on fire and made it a game and made it something interesting where you need to pay attention to. But I'll tell you right now, Chris Beard is going to get a $4 million a year extension.
Oh, 100%.
This. I mean, he could sign whatever number he wants on this, because if you think that somebody's going to pry him away from Texas Tech after making a Final Four, after losing a whole bunch of starters, players to the NBA, his point guard from last year, Keenan Evans, and redoing the whole thing and then making a Final Four this year and beating the number 1 team, the team that was ranked number 1 in the country for multiple weeks this year, the team with the highest offensive efficiency via KenPom this season, forget it. Whatever number they're going to put next to his extension, he could probably pick it. Because if they don't do that now and don't ink that in the next 2 months, forget about it. He could name his price anywhere he wants to go with the numbers that are flying around now. Since we're talking Hoiberg and TJ Ossenberg for UNLV, forget those numbers are skyrocketed. If you're Chris Beard, wow, I can't wait to see what number that's going to be and how many years are attached to that.
Fascinating coaching record for Beard. He was at McMurray in the Heartland Conference. Then he went to Angelo State. Then he went to Little Rock in the Sun Belt. And then he took
that one Little Rock year.
Yeah, and he was in 2016 he accepted the job at UNLV. But then when Tubby Smith went to Memphis, he then went to Texas Tech. So interesting guy, amazing coach, fantastic coach. And listen, Gonzaga, fantastic season. I was very impressed how Gonzaga was able to lock down defensively. And I understand the second half Texas Tech got away a little bit, but I was impressed how they when they lost to St. Mary's partner in the West Coast Conference, I put a fork in them. And maybe that's recency bias on my part, but
right.
They really did lock down. They played quality defense. They defended the three. It's just the second half, they just needed another guy. Kispert had 0. Tilly only had 3 points, played 11 minutes. Norvell has been worse this year. Norvell has not been
enigma-ish.
Yes, he really has. He was a guy who hit major 3-pointers last year, the one against UNCG, right?
Right.
And so I expected him. I remember him against Duke. Remember he drove baseline against Duke. He was in the near court, drove baseline, dunked it, and he never developed into that versatile scorer, which means it was Hashimura. Brandon Clark developed. Brandon Clark, 18 points, 12 rebounds, 2 blocks. Brandon Clark, no fouls. Brandon Clark, nice job. Brandon Clark stuck it to me. Okay, Brandon Clark, very nice. But they didn't have the other guy, and Texas Tech was able to match up. I think they needed, and I put this out on Twitter, Tariq Owens, Odiasi, no fouls for like 16 minutes of the second half. If that happens, you can maybe go to Clark or Hashimura. But a fantastic basketball game. Texas Tech pulls it out. Gonzaga, fantastic job. They could have gotten by this game, Gus. They could have won national title. I mean, they're that good. They really are.
Right.
But they needed somebody off the bench. I need to see this box score here. I have 3 points off the bench. I need Crandall to have 8 or Jones to have 6. They don't have it. They just don't have it, and that's what happened. It ended up being a 5-on-5 game. But wow, what a game.
Unbelievable game. And you're right with Kispert. Like, he didn't give them anything offensively or defensively in this matchup. And as well as that lineup played just one game ago with Tilly playing with the 2 other bigs, Clark and Hachimura. Like, Tilly needed to be a little bit more dynamic here, and he was not that in this game. If he, like you mentioned, if he gives him anything else off the bench, then this game might go a different way. Unbelievable job by Texas Tech, and just applaud the season by Gonzaga. If you're ranked number 1 during the season for multiple weeks like they were, congratulations.
Wonderful.
All right, you want to get to the best player in the nation?
Oh, my God.
Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with this Carson Edwards performance? He was unreal against the best defensive team historically. Historically, the best defensive team via Ken Pom against UVA. UVA wins the game in overtime, 80-75. So, I mean, we talk twists and turns and roller coaster twists on all of these games, and all of the margins of victory in these games could have gone either way for either team. And we saw the unbelievable sequence of events in the final seconds here, where Ty Jerome gets fouled and he makes the first, misses the second, that gets the tip out, the Clark pass, the Diakite, like, you know, basically just catch and shoot with the red light around the backboard to send it to overtime. The amount of hoops that UVA needed to jump through for that to happen was just absolutely unbelievable. And they had to hold off the best player in the country, Carson Edwards, just going absolutely nutty, bananas. He was frantic. When they put DeAndre Hunter on him, you thought like, oh yeah, the length will bother him. You know what he did? He shot it from 30 feet. He made it from 30 feet. He created space with his step back. But his step back wasn't from 23 feet. It was from 31 feet. He did not care. He was on a mission. He was not allowing this team to lose. And god dang, he did everything in this game for Purdue to move on. Unbelievable performance from him. Historic performance. Like, legitimately historic performance in our sport by Carson Edwards. When you get mentioned in the same breath as Steph Curry in that same game frame, getting to the Elite Eight and scoring as many points as both of them did, like, yeah, you did something right. Great job by Matt Painter trusting him and letting him do his thing. An unbelievable job by the rest of the roster just saying, like, okay, do your thing. We're going to hop on your back and we're going to ride you as far as we can ride you. Mike, what was your takeaway from UVA finally making a Final Four? So happy for Tony Bennett and the whole Cavalier squad. They get to go to Minnesota. The Tony Bennett Redemption Tour hits its final destination like we thought it would preseason in Minneapolis. And this Purdue team just, and Carson Edwards out of control. Mike, give me your takes on both, please.
I'm going to apologize for the next 5 minutes because I'm going to get worked up. Okay, it's coming, and I'm going to get worked up, and I have so much to say, and when I think of something that I forgot, I'm going to cut you off, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time.
Go do your thing.
Number one, fantastic job by Matt Painter and Purdue. It's very simple. No one else on Purdue can score in this game. I knew it. Carson Edwards knew it. Matt Painter knew it. Gene Cady knew it. You went as far as you can go with Eifert, Matt Harms, Ryan Klein, and Noel Eastern, and Travion Williams. You've gone as far as you can go. Ryan Klein with the threes, the bombs. Okay, fantastic against something. That's great. Go in and cash your chips. Okay, because that's not happening against Virginia because he's simply a curl guy. He can't dribble, and they're not going to allow it. They had the second best three-point defense coming into this game. On the other side, the performance by Carson Edwards was all-time good. All-time good, that good. 14 of 25 from the field, 10 of 19 from three-point range, 4-4 from the line, 42 points, enough. All-time good. Legendarily good. If he doesn't get picked because he doesn't test well at the combine, then everybody in the NBA who passes on him should be fired. Okay?
People are idiots.
Okay, it's really that simple. I don't want to hear about it. Now, I had an argument today on Twitter about this. Tony Bennett, this game was a tipping point of your coaching career and your family's philosophy. This was a huge moment because you have had trouble getting by these games. Tony Bennett has been coaching for 10 years now. In 2012, they made the tournament, got blown out by Florida. They were a 10 seed, Florida 17, blown out. I'm not saying they lost. They lost by 26 points, okay? 2014, Sweet 16, number 1 seed. You run into Michigan State, you lose by 2. Okay, fine. 2015, you're a 2 seed. You run into 7 seed Michigan State again and lose. Now it's becoming an issue because now it's coming off that you're soft and you're getting pushed around by the Spartans. 2016, number 1 seed in the Midwest. No problem. Crush Hampton, beat a pesky Butler team, destroy Iowa State, and then you're up by 13 points at halftime with London Parentis and you lose to the ghost of Malachi Richardson, a 10 seed. Now it becomes, will they ever get over the hump? Then they're a 5 seed. They play Florida in 2017. What happens, Gus? They lose by 26.
Right.
They're getting their fanny kicked. And oh, by the way, last year, you lost to a 16 seed, even though you didn't have DeAndre Hunter. This was the moment. You have to find a way to win this game. And I don't understand. And I was texting like a madman to you and everybody in my group text, where the hell is DeAndre Hunter? And the response I got today was, statistically, they rebound better with Jack Salt. What? And I am fairly certain that the Lakers have a higher field goal percentage when Kobe Bryant wasn't on the floor. But you don't take Kobe Bryant off the floor. Jack Salt, well, he's big. Oh, really? He averages 3.9 rebounds per game. 3.9. And he's like a 51% free throw shooter. What is the reason that Jack Salt is on the floor for the last 5 minutes and the overtime? What's the reason? If you want to criticize Matt Painter, and Francesa he said both coaches did a terrible job, they could have done hack assault and put him at the free throw line. Have you seen him shoot free throws, Gus? It was beyond all recognition. And I understand you and Dr. Tony told me that DeAndre Hunter did not have a great game. I will argue this. Maybe he didn't have a great game offensively. That's true. But he certainly played well defensively. By the way, he's their best rebounder, okay? And he's the only guy who can attack the basket. Gus, they're losing. Purdue's coming back. Carson Edwards is nuts. And they're running dribble up. Ty Jerome, left, right, come across half court, double stack on the baseline, come off the curl. Guys, do something! Your entire brand is on the line right now. And Kyle, come zigzag, okay? Do something! Do something else! And what is Jack Salt doing? He's setting a screen and he's rolling to the basket and no one's covering him because he can't score! And you're telling me you're keeping him in for rebounding? He averages 3.9 rebounds a game. What?
All right, I have a couple things to back you up here. Number one, DeAndre Hunter didn't even play well defensively. He was on Carson Edwards for a majority of the second half. Edwards is...
Well, Gus, I'm sorry. Chris Webber said he did, so sorry. Go ahead.
Do we need to get into that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I need to calm down. I just talked for 4 minutes straight. I'm sorry. I can see the Audacity bar right now. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We don't need to get into the Chris Webber, analysis argument now, do we? I don't think so. But, I mean, he didn't even play well defensively. Carson lit him up.
Yes.
Destroyed him.
That was the argument.
Destroyed him.
No, Gus, that was the argument. And the argument was Kihei Clark played better. No problem. No problem. Sit Salt.
Right.
Play Kihei Clark, because when they needed a bucket in overtime and when the double stack curl screen was guarded, because Carson Edwards, I don't know if anybody's heard of him, was guarding Kyle Guy, who scored the game-winning basket on a drive? Not Jack Salt.
Right. And here's the other part, too. When's the last time we kept score of the game via rebounds? Like, okay, great. Are we really going to start doing that now?
Gus,
like, is that...
Gus, do people really think that Tony Bennett's sitting there when his entire brand is on the line and his vaunted defense, which allows Jarius Lyles Ole to the basket whenever he wanted last year, and allowed Amin in the second half against Oregon Ole to the basket, and allowed Carson Edwards Ole to the basket? He's going, well, our rebound percentage is higher with Jack Salt. I don't know. If I'm Painter, the only criticism is, why didn't you foul Salt? Have you seen him shoot free throws? It's almost as bad as watching Taco fall. It's that bizarre.
How about Markelle Fultz?
Markelle Fultz. The thing is, and okay, I'll calm down now. The thing is, you need DeAndre Hunter, because he is, whether he was having a great game or not, he couldn't stop Carson Edwards. No one could. No one could stop Carson Edwards. So therefore, he's your best player. He's your best all-around player. And the only thing Kyle Guy can do is curl off the screen or dribble in and do that one-handed ball fake, Gus, to big players, which, newsflash, Purdue wasn't buying. There's nothing else. You need somebody to attack. You need offense. And my last point, and then I will shut up, please. I was taking a video with my phone.
Right.
When there was 13 seconds left.
Okay.
And Virginia was down 3.
Yeah.
And I'll put it out on Twitter. I will, because I have it saved. Ty Jerome, down 3, with the entire Virginia brand of basketball in jeopardy, is zigzagging up the court as you and I did the zigzag drill in high school.
Right. Can we show a little urgency and a little clock attention?
He took 5 seconds to get up the court. I don't know why Purdue fouled him. I'm not a foul guy. Let them shoot a 3. Because you know what, Gus? I have a feeling I knew what play they were going to run. I think they were going to run a double stack on the baseline because they can't run anything else. And that's what drives me nuts. They used 5 seconds and they had nothing open. Unbelievable, but great job by Carson Edwards. I'm very happy for Tony Bennett because he deserves this. He's a phenomenal coach. But Gus, that's about as far as I can see them going, man. Because at some point every year, someone's going to take him off the dribble. You have to find a player, and I thought it was DeAndre Hunter, who can get to the basket. Gonzaga's got 4 of them. 4 of them. And you can't get one, and your idea that you're down 3 with 13 seconds and you're going to run a double stack curl off the baseline is to me stubborn. And it's stubborn to a negative.
Speaking of stubborn, we know that Tony Bennett's super smart. We know that the coaching staff is unbelievably intelligent. We know that they're really well schooled. But as far as the Jack, this will tie a beautiful knot on the Jack Salt thing. Like, we don't try to outsmart like basketball. Don't try to outsmart the ball. Don't try to outsmart the game. Put your best players on the floor. Put your best players in successful positions that you've done all year, and let your players do the successful things that you've practiced and have become habits. Don't shortchange the other players on the floor and the roster because you think you're going to outsmart the game. Put your best players on the floor. Put them in the positions that you've practiced, drilled, and skilled all year, and let them do their thing. Don't shortchange the rest of the roster, the rest of the coaching staff, because you think you have a feel or you think you have no way. If you have a lottery pick, quote unquote lottery pick, and you're going to replace him for Jack Salt, bad move. Not only are you trying to outsmart the game, you're shortchanging the rest of the roster and the rest of the work that those guys have put in with that player, DeAndre Hunter, the whole entire season. Don't try to outsmart the game.
This reminds me of the pendulum in the NFL, and specifically fantasy football, has swung from this battle between the new wave, metric guys who are GMs, and the old school guy like the Giants' Dave Gettleman. Here's my point.
Right.
The answer is in the middle, as it is in everything in life. When we found our wives, we didn't take out a rubric and grade them on kindness, personality, ability to cook, ability to shoot a three, how well she holds my hand. There's a part that is heart. There's a part of everything that's gut instinct. There has to be, guys. You can't, if you want to stay with the metrics that Jack Salt led them into better rebounding, you're simply gutless and you're looking to blame something non-human so that if it goes wrong, you can sit at the podium and say, well, that's what the numbers said. We're humans. We're not robots. When Gus got married, I was there. When I got married, Gus was there. And I can tell you this, we didn't pick our partners based on metrics. We went with heart. And if you want to take Hunter out and tell him to calm down, that's fine. But if you think having a 7-foot, 3.9 rebound per game, 51% foul shooter is a good idea when your brand is clearly on the line and you're trying to make a Final Four, then you're insane. And DeAndre Hunter, I think he's a lottery pick. If he's not Gus, what is he? Top 20?
Yep.
23?
20.
Fine. Unbelievable. So I am invested. You know why I'm invested? Because we love Virginia. Because we love the Cavaliers. And because we wanted Tony Bennett to win. Because we wanted to see it happen for all these stupid people that think they could just recruit 5-star athletes and win with talent. And Bennett doesn't do it. And he's won the ACC. And he's been dumped on. And it's garbage. And that's why I was so mad. And that's why I'm so happy they made it.
I'm unbelievably pleased that they're going to Minnesota. Unbelievably pleased. All right,
I got to edit some of that out. I'm sorry. My God. I mean, this has been 20 minutes of me yelling. But I warned you ahead of time. I just should have said 10 minutes instead of 5.
It's fantastic. I love the whole thing. Okay, I'm just going to tell you right now. You should leave the whole thing in. Okay, we got another overtime, beautiful, gorgeous.
We didn't even get to Sunday yet.
Unbelievable game here. Showdown number 3. SEC, Auburn, Kentucky, heads into overtime. Auburn by, I don't even know how. I don't, Bruce Pearl's an amazing coach. That roster is unbelievably deeply invested. We were trading some notes with one of the listeners, Lee, who was at the game, and we mentioned that they're just so emotionally attached and the camaraderie with the roster and the staff is something that makes sports special. If you have an opportunity, if you've ever had the opportunity to be part of a special team, a special group of guys, a special group of girls, a special group of athletes, whether it be guys or girls, it doesn't matter. And you've put that work in and you've made that sacrifice and you've experienced unbelievable disappointment, and you've come back and righted the ship and found a way to navigate your way to a Final Four this way this Auburn team did behind Coach Pearl. Like, that's what makes sports special. If we go ahead and look at all of everybody's bracket, everybody had Kentucky, everybody had UNC, maybe a couple people had Wofford in there for fun, but I don't know if there's a ton of people that had the Auburn Tigers there besides Charles Barkley. This type of situation makes sports special. They had to overcome a great game from PJ Washington, who came back and played unbelievably well after missing the first weekend. And I think the other part I want to mention on this is Coach Cal. Some people might get on Coach Cal and say, how could he not get to a fight? How could he not? The dude has been to 7 Elite Eights. That's insane. Insane. You can say that maybe he's lost a step recruiting, if Duke got those 3 guys and so on and so on. He's done nothing but find success and find the end of the tournament. As far along as the end of the tournament as anybody else in our sport since he started coaching at Kentucky. So if anybody's going to dump on him, I think that's the wrong place to dump, because he that 7 Elite 8 run is kind of insane. I don't know if that's going to be revisited, maybe by anybody but by himself. So this game totally lived up to the hype, and this is another one that, like, you know, could have went either way, just razor thin. Mike, what do you take away from the SEC, like, rematch? And again, the last team that was able to defeat Auburn was this Kentucky team, and it was a blowout, and they righted the ship and totally corrected the script here. How in the world did they do this?
They did it by motivation. They did it by the brilliant motivation and coaching of Bruce Pearl. And they did it by absolute outstanding play from Jared Harper and from Bryce Brown. Yeah. They have a senior backcourt. Yep. They have players that find a way to win. They have a senior in Brown. They have a junior in Harper. They have a veteran backcourt. They scored. And Carson Edwards, by the way, had 42 points. Nobody else in the team had more than 7. Okay, in that game, to bring that out. In this game, 50 of the 77 points came from Brown and Harper. They couldn't stop him. And by the way, I want to bring this up. Remember when Ashton Hagans had a tremendous game defending Kobe White?
Yeah.
Has Ashton Hagans played well since that? I mean, I heard Ashton Hagans was the second coming of a lockdown defender. He's gotten roasted in the last few games. So yeah. Ashton Hagans, part of my pick, I picked Kentucky, was I thought Hagans would limit somebody. Man, you didn't limit anyone, and you're not providing much offense either. So if you're not locking people down, what's going on? Quickly played 19 minutes. Hagans played 38 minutes. That was the difference. Auburn's backcourt, guards win in March. Auburn's backcourt was able to overcome the front court dominance. P.J. Washington was fantastic, 28 points. Folks, if you're not picking him in the top 5, you know what you're doing. If you pass on P.J. Washington, you're making an idiotic move. The guy's a winner, 37 minutes, 13 rebounds, 2 blocks. He hit 2 threes. I don't know what else you want. He's going to translate to the NBA fine.
No problem. I agree with you.
But that's a story and a video for another day. Right. That's how they did it. Kudos to Bruce Pearl. It's all about effort. It's all about desire. Wiley, Purifoy, McLemore, Spencer at the end of the game. Right. Spencer is sitting there, number 0, guarding P.J. Washington on that last play in regulation, and he stuffs him. How about the back-to-back stuffs? They went straight up in the air. Just the will to win, to overcome adversity. What a job by Auburn. And Kentucky fans, you're not mad at Calipari. If you get on Calipari, you're idiotic. He's done a fantastic job. Please, enough. But it is true. You do need veterans. Reed Travis, you did a nice job leading them this year, but they needed more than 9 and 6 from you today because they were struggling. Keldon Johnson, 14 points, P.J. Washington, 28, but they did shut down Tyler Hero, and he's been the X factor, only 1 of 5 from three-point range.
There's a couple things to go with here. Number one, when we talked to Mira Fader early on last week, she said that Auburn was one of these teams. She identified them and said, like, this is a team that I'm looking at and thinking they might do something special, and boom, they've done something special. So she played fortune teller perfectly. And then, Mike, don't you feel like this Auburn team definitely has, like, a little UConn vibe with Kemba Walker? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or maybe Shabazz Napier with his backcourt, and maybe, like, Brown and Harper, or, like, some sort of combination of those two guards, 2 for 1 there, if you will. And the special, unique, like, vibe that they have rolling with right now is very UConn-esque right now. Maybe, like, again, nobody else would pick them. They had to defeat a whole bunch of teams leading up to this. They defeat UNC and Kentucky. It's crazy.
And they needed New Mexico State to miss a free throw there at the end of the game. Isn't that amazing?
It's like the sport's beautiful.
Yeah.
The sport is beautiful.
Mrs. Randall comes by today and goes, "Didn't Auburn lose to South Carolina?" Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Chris Silva. Yes.
Yes.
And then this brings me to my other point, and this is like an overarching point that maybe we'll get back into during the offseason. I think with Coach Pearl finding success here and making a Final Four with this Auburn team, it's just a matter of time until Rick Pitino gets hired. Because they took a big chance with Coach Pearl, Auburn did, and could have went other places, but they decided to go with a guy that had a little bit of a checkered past as far as you can mention rule breaking or violations or whatever the case might be. Show cause. Throw whatever term you want on it, okay? And now he has them in a Final Four and had them live last year and has revitalized this program. it's just a matter of time until somebody does the same for Rick Pitino. Maybe not on as big a stage as Auburn, but somebody will take that risk with him. And I think somebody will realize that, like, yeah, Pitino's got one more little run in him, just like Pearl got his team to a Final Four. Maybe it won't be a Final Four. Maybe it'll be a mid-major that gets the tournament for the first time in forever. But I think that's going to happen, and I think it's going to happen because of Bruce Pearl's performance here, especially with the limited roster and the hoops that he had to jump through last year with the FBI investigation. So kudos to Coach Pearl and his coaching staff and that roster. Unbelievable job. Can't wait to see him jack a couple more threes in the Final Four.
Everybody deserves a second chance. Now, Pitino's had a couple here, but I said as soon as Pitino was let go, he's going to be back. I said it then. I said it immediately. I think it's a joke to even think he's not coming back. He's absolutely coming back. It's not even a question.
Totally.
The Bruce Pearl thing is interesting. He seems like a really good guy. He used to coach at Boston College, so near and dear to my heart. Pearl got in trouble. He was persona non grata among the coaching community because he taped another coach thinking that coach did something illegal when he didn't land a player. Right. So he was banned from the community because, coaches don't go against coaches, just like police officers don't go against police officers or whatever, any profession, right?
Right.
And then, of course, the issue was he had Aaron Kraft at his house for a barbecue. That's really what happened. In the big scheme of things, that's really not that bad. I mean, Jim O'Brien, who coached at Boston College, got in trouble because he gave some money to Costas Maglos to go home for a funeral. Okay. So, I mean, in the big scheme of things, it wasn't, everyone here's got some issues. People attack Roy for the stuff in North Carolina, but that's not been proven. Calipari gets nailed because he's vacated 2 Final Fours. Well, Marcus Camby agreed to receiving benefits and paid back the money. So can you blame that on Calipari? I don't know. And then Derrick Rose had somebody else take the SAT for him. Did Calipari orchestrate that? I don't know about that. So the point is, everyone's got something on them. Having Aaron Kraft at a barbecue really isn't that big a deal to me. So yes, I think he deserves a second chance, and he's making the most of it.
Oh my goodness. I'm totally looking forward to that matchup. That's going to be great. And congratulations to all the Tiger fans out there. Totally crazy. All right, let's get to the last one. I mean, this, you could argue this was the best one, but you could argue any of these 4 games were the best ones. And, Michigan State pulls out the miracle 68-67 over Duke. This is one of those ones where Duke just couldn't find a way to pull a magic trick, a rabbit out of its hat, whatever, magician type term you want to throw at them. They did it against Central Florida. They were able to do it against Virginia Tech, and they couldn't pull the trick here. And I don't know, Mike, what you saw in this game, but here's a couple of things that I saw. Number one, Cassius Winston is just he's playing like
first team All-American. All-American.
If you're gonna say like Carson Edwards is the best player in the country, then Carson Edwards is in the conversation for the next 3 spots, right? Like that. Cassius is playing out of his head. He had command of the game. He had command of the tempo of the game. The game was played at the exact tempo that Michigan State wanted it to be. They wanted to slow down Duke and limit their possessions and limit their opportunities. I can still remember when you talked to Chris Solari for one of our team previews, he mentioned that Cassius Winston played with this like jazz player, musician type pace, where he was very with the flow of the game and had this very high game feel IQ, and then rode that and made decisions off of that on how the game was being played. And I think that was on perfect display and illustrated beautifully today in this game against Duke. I think he played unbelievably out of his head and very artistically against a longer, more athletic, and, quote unquote, higher draft pick type look team on the other side. And that's the other part. And this is like the one thing I just wanted to bring about this game is our sport is beautiful because of this opportunity that's afforded to Cassius Winston here. He's legitimately playing against 3 other, maybe 4 other, who knows, however you want to classify Jones. He's playing against 3 other players that are going to go to the NBA draft and be drafted somewhere in the top 15 next year. Cassius Winston is not in that conversation. He's not part of that community. Is he a great college basketball player? Yes. Should he be first team All-American? Yes. Should he be, Big Ten player of the year behind Carson? Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. But is he in that same conversation? No. He's a different level of player. And, all the measurables and all the athletic ability speak to that. But our sport provides the opportunity for a player like Cassius Winston to lead a team like Michigan State with a limited roster due to injuries, to upset a team that is absolutely loaded and stacked like Duke. And that's the thing that we attach to. And I think that's what you mentioned casual fans before. I think that's one of the things that casual fans are really going to hook onto and really fall in love with Cassius Winston and this Michigan State team. And if they don't know Izzo already, if they're a casual fan, they're going to lock into Izzo. And by the way, that Izzo thing with Henry seems a long time ago, huh?
Absolutely does. Tom Izzo is brilliant. He was 1-11. He even mentioned it in the post-game interview. 1-11 isn't struggling. That's really bad. So this game loomed large. He deserves this against Krzyzewski, who actually gave a normal handshake. Good job, Coach K, there on the handshake line in a loss. Very nice. A lot of things in this game. Number one, Zion's wonderful. Zion Williamson is the player of the year in the nation. He's fantastic. He's amazing. 24 points, 14 rebounds, even hit 2 threes. Whether I think his game translates to be worthy of the number 1 overall pick in the draft, the answer is no, but we'll get into that after this is over.
Right.
RJ Barrett is fantastic. I think he's underappreciated. I think people don't realize how good RJ Barrett is. He has a lot of Magic Johnson in him. I'm not talking about the passes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that he can do the tip. I'm talking about the fact that he runs the team while being very tall, being a tall, lanky point guard. I talk about how he goes inside and outside, how he can penetrate. He can make threes. He was 3 of 6 from three-point range today. 21 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, almost a triple-double-esque type of player. He's a Swiss Army knife. He's a fantastic player and should absolutely be drafted in the top 3 or 4 picks. Cam Reddish, absolutely not. The other side of the coin. I don't care that he's hurt. This is what Cam Reddish did. 37 minutes, 8 points, no impact. The only thing he did all year was hit the 3 against Florida State. That's it. I'm sorry. He should come back. He should come back and develop and have, hopefully, a PJ Washington-esque year next year when he comes back. He should not declare. Anyone who takes this guy's top 5 picks insane. On the other side, Cassius Winston's amazing. We hear about his tendonitis. We hear about his toe injury. That's what threw me off their scent the whole time. Guy is a gamer. 20 points, 10 assists, 2 of 4 from three-point range, played all 40 minutes. Nick Ward, gutty and gritty, even Mrs. Randall admitted it, even though he's hurt.
Wow, that's big.
6 points, 5 rebounds, played great. Tillman and Kenny Goins with the big 3. Winston even made a joke. That really wasn't the play that was designed. Everybody thinks it was a play that was designed. Listen, I love Kenny Goins. Izzo isn't saying we're 1-11 against Duke. How about Kenny Goins popping out for 3? I'm sorry, that's not the look. That maybe look 3 or 4.
Right.
That was an option 1.
No,
sure.
that was not option 1 on the clipboard.
But that's all right. He deserves it. He deserves it. Kudos to Coach Izzo. Fantastic job. He was yelling, by the way, at his players at the end of the game. He yelled, very interesting, Gus, he yelled at Tillman, I think, at one point, or maybe it was Goins. I forget who it was. I think it was Goins, for not taking a charge on Zion's last basket. They forced Zion to his left, and it's clear by what Izzo was saying that they had practiced taking charges when he went left, and Goins didn't quite slide over and fall. And if you watch him go into the huddle, he's pounding his chest, going right here. You have to take it, and he had a chance. But then again, Zion's also very agile and very strong, so that's tough. But great job all around, fantastic game, 4 unbelievable games.
Yeah, totally unbelievable. I'll just follow up a couple of your points there. Number 1, Zion's going to be special because of his initial jump. His initial jump is unique. It changes many things on multiple places on the floor, defensively, altering and deflecting shots, defensive rebounding, he can end possessions. As an offensive rebounder, he can get a ton of tips. And then, of course, his initial lift when he takes off to go to the basket, he can absorb contact. That initial lift skill is really special. I think that's what's gonna, further his NBA career. You talked to RJ. I'm not as high on RJ as you. I think there's limitations to his game athletically. I don't think that he has the same type of verticality that other first, second, third, fourth, fifth round draft picks do. His diverse skill set is interesting, but I feel like he doesn't shoot it well enough and he turns it over a lot. So I'm not all the way there with RJ. I'm almost a little bit more there with Cam than you are. Although I'm with you. I think I'm a little down on him. Like if you're drafting him I don't know if you're looking at him inside the top 5, then I think that's a mistake too. But I think I'm a little bit higher on him than you are. But yeah,
the only thing I'll say with Barrett is I've seen Barrett on multiple occasions, at least once a game, turn a corner on defender and ram it home.
Yeah.
So at least I see him driving. Yes, he has trouble finishing. I understand your point. He can't go right. I get that. But I don't see Cam Reddish attacking the basket ever. Sure. I don't remember one time where he turned, catch the ball. You're always in the corner. I know you are, which is where Wayne Selden was for Kansas for years.
Right.
Can you catch the ball, dribble baseline, slam it home? Can I see that once? That's my issue. That's my issue.
Obviously we'll argue that over and over again during the offseason leading up to the NBA draft. But yeah, you're right. Like, listeners, we got treated. We got spoiled. We got the Elite Eight that we kind of hoped for, and every one of these games was in doubt in the final minute / overtime, and you didn't know which way it was going to go. And that's the beauty that it was just beautiful this weekend. I'm so happy that we were able to share it with you guys, and you guys can we'll help you get to the Final Four this week in a couple of different varieties, but hopefully this pod helps you get there too. Listen. Don't forget to give the podcast a follow on Twitter at SDS Podcast. Efficiency of keystrokes, of course. Don't forget to give Mike a follow over at the Action Network at Randall Rant. He's insightful, entertaining, and educational, all in one nice, tidy little package. If you really like what you're listening to, please don't forget on your podcast consumption vehicle of choice, give the podcast a nice review. You have a little time this week. We don't have any games to watch. I mean, maybe you catch up with the NIT or catch up with the girls tournament. I'm with you on that. That sounds great. But, maybe hit up a nice review and say some nice things about Mike or myself, or even some of the guests that we've had on recently. Like, we're working hard to give you some quality guests and get you, get you entertained and educated. So please go ahead and hit that up if that's an option that you have some extra time this week. Mike, what else you got for the listeners out there?
Tomorrow, guys, and I'm going to have to find a way to condense this. I'm going to be on The Daily Line on NBC Sports Radio with Tim Murray and Jenks. You can follow that on Twitter at NBC Sports Radio. If you have the NBC Sports Radio app or you go on NBCSportsRadio.com, you can hear me. I'm going to have to shorten this, Gus, because I don't think they'll keep me on as long as you did tonight. But we're going to talk all about the Elite Eight games and preview the Final Four. So excited about that.
Just do me a favor. Keep your UVA take shorter than it was tonight.
Yeah,
okay?
I mean, they'll kick me off. I won't even be allowed to be, okay, that's enough for Mike Randall. We won't get so I got to condense it tomorrow. But
that's beautiful. I love that. I no, go long form. Please go long form. That sounds great. And listeners, one other thing. We're so pleased. We're so happy. We're honored that the amount of listens and downloads and consumption of the podcast has been through the roof during March for us. So thank you for spreading the good word, whether it be by word of mouth or just sharing a nice comment with a friend and then they tune in. Obviously, we're grassroots in it here, and thank you for being part of the grassroots forward movement for the Screen to Screener College Basketball Podcast. Mike and I are kind of humbled by the numbers that we're kind of reading across through Spreaker. So thank you for that. That's been really cool. We totally appreciate everybody's kind words and passing along the good word that is the Screen to Screener College Basketball Podcast. So we'll catch up with you before you know it. We'll catch up with you later on this week. So we're just going to say cheers, cilantro, gratulatia, arigato. Come on, Saturday. Get here quick. Come on.
I need another smoke.